this shade of lipstick, that is not great. I'm not gonna lie. Whatever, we gotta start this video. I'm the Book Baron. Welcome in, everybody. So today I picked a horrible shade of lipstick because I'm trying to be a little bit Christmassy. I was like, ooh, red and white, but I think something about the purple hair that I still have mid-November when I'm filming this is kind of throwing off this color scheme. It's not my favorite, I'm not gonna lie. But I wanted to do something a little bit Christmassy because, to be honest, my TBR, not so much. I'm up to my usual shenanigans with some dark stuff, some stuff for my priority reads, a few books that I've talked about recently that I was like, oh yeah, I should get to those before the end of the year. But it's a lot of my normal stuff. I don't really get into Christmas in general, and especially with reading, I just find personally that it's a little bit too corny campy for me. So you're gonna find kind of my normal dark romances on this TBR. I'm not here to yuck your yum. If you enjoy Christmas novellas and Christmas books, amazing. I love that for you. It's just not my bag. Mostly because I'm just not a Christmas person in general, if I haven't made that abundantly clear. I've just had too many people die around Christmas, and so it's just not really my favorite. Anyway, let's move on to more positive things, like this TBR. All right, so the first book is probably the darkest one that I have on here. It's Dolly by Mesha Stone. I'm gonna flash up the special edition cover that I have. That's absolutely insane. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna put the regular cover up now. But this is somewhere between like a dark romance and a horror romance. Based on what I can figure out, I believe it to be a captive romance. But when I tell you that this synopsis is at best a perfume commercial, it's so vague. It's like a whisper in the direction of what this book is actually about. I could be getting this all kinds of wrong. So this is my best interpretation of the very strange poem that serves as the synopsis for this book. There's a guy, I know, assuming he's the hero, another wild take. Sounds like he's promising the heroine a better future. Better future. Because right now he's trying to give her some hope. They are trapped in a cellar together, it sounds like, and their life is nothing short of a horror movie. They are forced to live for the worst kinds of people, it says, and it also says that they're desperate to survive for each other. So again, that's why I'm kind of thinking this is probably more captive than captor. But regardless, it sounds like they're having to do some unsavory things that they'd really rather not be doing. And she wants to believe, our heroine wants to believe in this future, but can't do that because she can't trust him, even though that's like the one thing that could maybe get her out of here. So I don't know why that is, but apparently she can't. So I wanted to read this one because it was on my priority reads and I honestly forgot about it. And I've also been reading a lot of the special editions that I have. Well, not the books themselves, because I was like, I don't really need this collection. I don't know why I have all these books. So the ones that I haven't read, I've been trying to read through them to see if I want to resell. This is one that I haven't read. I've read one other book from this author and I can't remember honestly if I even finished it. It was a buddy read that I did with Lynn. And I remember Lynn saying like even that she had read other stuff from Mesha Stone. She was like, this wasn't really her best work. So I really do want to give her another shot. I'm hoping because I'm going like dark, that it's going to be more of my thing compared to like what I read previously, which is like a really corny, very tropey mafia book. It's also just something short. So although I'm sure it's really, really like creepy, spooky, I'm thinking that this would be a nice, easy flight read where I can just kind of like binge it really quick while I'm at the airport and on my flight and just kind of like one and done it and move on to the next thing. That's our first book on this TBR. What a way to start. Next up from Nikki Harris, I have Made for Marble.
No, actually, no, you don't, because the book is called Born for Marble. Although Made for Marble does sound more alliterative and does get the same point across, it will not, in fact, lead you to the book that I am talking about. Ugh, and I just heard my voice and it sounds like I've got a cold, because I do. I have the plague right now, so sorry that you have to hear my gross sick voice because I screwed up this title. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
It's the third book in an interconnected series. I cannot say interconnected. Interconnected series. For the life of me. Oh my God. So it's called The Cradle of Common. And this book is coming out. So when you're seeing this, it'll have just come out on November 25th. So this is a dystopian that kind of lives somewhere between fantasy and sci-fi, but it's also got age gap and bodyguard. So I haven't even seen a synopsis for this, but I do know enough about the series to tell you a little bit about the world because I read the other books. And also I've met these characters before. So I have a little bit of a sense of what this book is going to be about, but I haven't seen an official synopsis of any kind. So in this world, the world as we know it fell. And what rose up in its place is called the Cradle. And the people there are called the Cradled Common. In exchange for safety, security, you have to engage in some sort of trade that's designated as your life's purpose. And whatever you produce out of that is given back into the trade. So if you're a farmer, what you produce goes back into the trade. If you are a handmaid, your babies go back into the trade. You see what I'm saying? But in exchange, you do get food safety, a place to stay, which is more than the people outside of this system can can claim to have. And there are some people that do choose to live like out in these wastes. It's got this like crazy red wind. It's basically like a desert out there. It's really hard to move around, and it has the added little cherry, little treat of having cannibals that are running around just looking for a little snack. So not necessarily a place that you really want to be. So you can see why people would want to be part of the Cradled Common. There is a like ruling class that is part of this system. They feed into the trade. They are designated this trade and have been specifically bred for the positions that they hold. And our heroine is Tuscany. So she is a young queen. She's actually the sister of the hero from book 1, I believe. And we got a glimpse of her and a certain bodyguard named Kong, who's like the 7 foot tall. All of them are like Jinn DNA infused people, basically like these superhumans that kind of took over everything because they had all the superior genetics. But we saw that there was like a little something going on between those two. And so it's going to be a little bit of a forbidden relationship because the trade controls all of your relationships. They really make it so who you're connected to is controlled by them. So there's no favoritism. They make sure that any relationships you have are kind of severed or at least designated and controlled in some way by the trade, because again, they don't want you forming a ton of bonds outside of what they've designated as your life's purpose. You're supposed to get all your fulfillment basically from your job. So I am so excited for another installment in this series. The last book was not my favorite, but it was still a pretty solid installment. The first book still is just like top tier to me. It's definitely high spice, but I do feel like there is plenty of relationship development and there's plenty of tension just because of the system that they're kind of forced to participate in and how their life is dictated by the trade. It really adds this like gritty, kind of fantastical political layer to everything. And I still feel like there's so much of this world to explore. I did enjoy, as I said, that first book the most out of this series so far. So I'm hoping that because we're kind of getting back to a little bit of the aristocracy, that hopefully it'll be a little bit more my speed. So next up, I have another book that is coming out soon. That is the 3rd installment in a series, but on a way different note. This is My Favorite Fake Romance by Elizabeth O'Rourke. So as I said, it's the 3rd book in the Favorite series that she's been producing. This is all interconnected. You can read them out of order. This is coming out on December 11th. So Merry Christmas to me. This has fake dating, as the title suggests. It's second chance and it's best friend's brother. And because it's Elizabeth O'Rourke, it's definitely going to be slow burn. So our heroine is Doctor. Wait, hold on a second. I think I wrote, oh my God, no, I didn't write that wrong. Okay, I just thought I got the heroine's name completely wrong, or that this was secretly an MM romance, because the heroine's name is Dr. Easton Walsh. So definitely thought that was a dude for like a split second there, or I wrote that totally wrong. Totally wrong? Sure, girl. But basically, she thinks that she is going to this dinner. She's gonna be proposed to. She's all excited to show off her ring. But what she gets instead is a breakup. At her would-be proposal dinner, she's dumped. She thought that she was gonna be showing up to her best friend's wedding with a dazzling ring and this fiance that everyone's thirsting after, and now she's gotta be like, just kidding, my life is falling apart. And the only person that's really offering to help her in any capacity is a former lover named Elijah Cabot. And this is her best friend's older brother. And this man's already broken her heart once. He's like, you know what? No problem. I've got you. I will attend this wedding with you. I will make your ex jealous, but he just needs one little favor in return. And that is to help drive his grandmother to a wedding several states away. So this should be easy, right? But now we're in forced proximity with one another. We're spending a lot of time together. What starts as a fake relationship is really starting to feel more and more real the more time they spend together. It becomes harder and harder for Easton to remember that the life that she has built in Boston does not in any way involve Elijah. And this is made even more complicated when her ex, Nasty, comes creeping back in and he starts dangling some threats in her face that could derail her entire career unless she comes back to him, which is stupid because you dumped her, sir. Like, you already had your shot. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, I hate this man already. I'm really excited for another Elizabeth O'Rourke release. She is one of my absolute go-tos when it comes to solid banter, a good slow burn, nice concise writing. We're sticking around that 300-page mark. She's got great chemistry and connection between her heroes and heroines. So I'm really looking for those emotions, the trauma, the slow burn. This is another another one, funny enough, similar to The Cradled Common, where I absolutely loved that first book. The second book, it was a little bit more rocky. I still enjoyed it though. So I'm really hoping that this third book is another good one. So next up I have for you, Bound by Elle Hazelwood. So this, from what I can tell, seems to be an audiobook only. I don't know what that's about. I've not been keeping up on this kind of stuff. But from what I can tell, it seems to be a standalone. It's dark academia, student professor, and there's like a little bit of like partners in crime element. So we have Veronica, also known as Vero. She knows her way around a scam because she was raised by some professional grifters. So when she has some debt starting to pile up and she's in the middle of grad school, she's like, I know how I'll help myself out. I will go back to what I know. I will go back to forging, but just for a little while, just long enough that she can get herself afloat and then move on with like more legitimate activities. Unfortunately, her little side hustle that she's got going on ends up catching the attention of Dr. Victor Ashworth, who is a very cold British professor. Things kind of take a turn, but not in the way that she thought they were going to when he figures all this out. Instead of reporting her, which he probably should have done, he very politely kidnaps her and offers her a deal. Make this forgery or else, I guess. She's captive. Just do it, girl. So what starts as a very reluctant relationship turns into something a little bit more. We've got some long nights. We've got some very rare inks. We've got a shared secret, and we've got a little bit of tension. But Vero doesn't trust Victor. I mean, given the fact that he snatched her, I can't say that I trust him either. And the deeper this con goes, the more she becomes unsure if she's being played. Whoopsies, I got a phone call in the middle of that, so hopefully this shot doesn't look too different. Are we okay? So the thing that I love about Elle Hazelwood is that she is one of the very few trad pub authors that I do seem to just enjoy her books. They're not all-time favorites, but every time I pick up her books, I just am guaranteed a good time. And I like that she's taking some risks. She's not just doing the same old, like, yes, we're still in an academic setting, but we're not leaning into the STEM in this one. And I like to see that she's doing something different. And actually, this book sounds the most like something I would pick up. So rude. Do you not know I'm recording here? How dare the traffic not bend to my will? But anyways, this book sounds more like something that would be my speed regardless of who the author is. It sounds like something that I'd be interested and want to pick up anyway. So I'm really excited to see her take on something that's a little bit more my speed. Plus, honestly, I think reluctant allies has got to be one of my favorite tropes. It's got so much forced proximity, but you don't have the insta-love or like faking a relationship. So there's a little bit of tension there of like, can you even trust them? I eat that up. All right, next up is a little bit of a wild one, and it's Wife Number 1 by Elle Thorpe. So this is the first in the, I'm gonna have to look at my notes, Saint View Slayers versus Sinners. I hope I said all of that right. That's so many S's. I hate that too much. Anyways, this is a why choose dark romance, and it has a cult. Our heroine was forced into a marriage with a very dangerous cult leader, and she became wife number 1. So I'm assuming it's a polygamous cult, but she's in a very enviable position, but they don't know the truth, what goes on behind closed doors. There's beatings, there's punishments, and just generally a constant threat of violence. And when she fails to produce him a son, he turns his rage onto the only things that she loves. Her sister Alice, and the baby I'm assuming she just had recently, who he rips away from her and gives to another family to raise. Now, she's on the run and ends up going back to St. View, so I don't know what the story is there. I don't know if that's where she was raised. I was assuming she was raised in the cult if her sister's there, but I digress. And she's hoping that this is going to be a source of safety for her. But the safety doesn't seem to exist. Her sister is unalived, sadly, in an alleyway. And the craziest part is her ex-husband isn't even the only suspect in her case. So she's trying to protect herself and her daughter and find this unaliver. So she ends up moving in with the St. View Biker Club, and it ends up pushing her on the path of just a few different men. Hawk, who is the club VP, who swears he doesn't want her there. Of Chaos, he's an ex-gang leader with this magnetic pull, but he's completely off limits because that's Hawk's sworn enemy. And we also have Grayson, who is a very gentle doctor who's grieving his late wife with his own reasons for kind of getting caught up in all this murderous stuff. But the more they dig, the more lies pile up, secrets begin unraveling, and one thing becomes very clear. This unaliver isn't done, and very likely they are next. The reason I grabbed this one, if you don't know this, which you might not because I honestly haven't read a lot of books like this recently, I love. That was very sinister looking. I love books that deal with cults. I think it is so fascinating. I want to know how people get sucked into them. I want to know about belief systems and how those belief systems evolve and how people stay in them and reinforce them, but also how people get out of them and defect. I love all of that kind of stuff. And I feel like this feels like a slightly different take than what I have gravitated to previously, because we're a little bit more on the outside of the cult. Most of the other books that I've read are like firmly inside, like on a cult compound. But even though we're not like in the cult for the majority of the book, I have seen a couple reviews already that were like, this got really dark. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think it's gonna be a lighter take on the cult. I think it's just gonna be a slightly different angle. I honestly, with Why Choose, I just don't take those books as seriously. So I'm hoping it'll kind of be a good blend of like more unhinged, less serious for me, and then also some darker aspects, which I tend to like. So I'm hoping there's going to be a little bit of religious deconstruction. I hope we're dealing with a little bit of that. I want to know how this gal is getting her baby back and all of that. So I'm excited to see where this book goes. Now, last but not least, let's talk about some vlog books. So I decided after doing my books I'm never in the mood for, I'm just gonna force myself to be in the mood, because I honestly, I wanna read all of these books and I never get to them. So I'm like, okay, I'll do a vlog where I actually just finally read these bad boys. I know for sure there's two I wanna do that I've been told are a little bit more wintry. So the first one is Credence by Penelope Douglas. This is a taboo romance. I was corrected. It's not a dark romance, although they're not blood related, so I don't really find that taboo. So since I just talked about this, I'm gonna go a little bit faster with this. Basically, Tiernan is our heroine, ends up losing her parents. Very sad. She's just got a couple months before she turns 18. She doesn't have any other living relatives other than her dad's stepbrother. It's not someone that she's ever really known, and it kind of throws her into this like wild life, literally wild life. It throws her out into like the woods of Colorado, and she's used to kind of like a life of privilege. So she ends up staying with her step uncle and his two sons, and they teach her to survive in their world. It's still unclear to me because people wrote contradictory comments if she ends up with one person or multiple, and I don't mean having sexy time. I mean like the HEA, does it involve one person or multiple people? Because you guys contradicted yourself in the comments. So all I'm saying is there's a reason I'm confused. That's the first one that I want to read. And then I also want to get to From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. I may do a little bit of a double feature. So this may be something that I also end up buddy reading with Lynn from Lynn's Romance Library. So this one is like enemies to lovers, sports romance, slow burn because it's Mariana Zapata. Although this is a lot shorter than her other books. But our heroine is Jasmine, and she's had like a rough couple of years in solo ice skating, and her career is kind of coming to a close. She's like, I gotta change things up. I want to go out on top. So she ends up getting a partner to go into pairs skating instead for a little bit. And she's obviously got to find like a partner to skate with. And she ends up with Ivan Lukov, which is like her sworn enemy, which I am so curious about. Like, does that happen very often? Because the little I know about ice skating, I'm like, I feel like solo skating and like pair skating are entirely different skill sets, but I digress. Anyways, so this has, you know, it's ice skating, so it's a little bit more of a wintry type deal. But after that, I wasn't sure what I wanted to read, so I would love y'all's opinions. So the two books that I am debating between are Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I'm like the last person to read this. I don't know why I'm even explaining this. This one's more like sports romance, new adult, friends to lovers. Basically, Johnny's like star rugby player. He's got an injury that he's kind of trying to keep under wraps, but he's trying to keep his head down and just like get some success and like make it big after high school, or what they're calling college, but I'm assuming that's just high school for US folk. And Shannon Lynch ends up getting transferred to their school because she was bullied at her other school, and then he kind of like takes an interest in her, and then they become friends, and then they start being lovers. I don't know. You guys know what this book is about better than I do. That's the first option for the last book. And then I was debating between that and Ivy by Devney Perry, because this one I found out actually has 3 different romances in it. So each of the girls gets a romance. So this one is also new adult, but this one's actually in university, and it's got like a whisper of thriller. I thought this was thriller focused with a whisper of romance. I guess it's the opposite, but basically it's like somewhere between like Gossip Girl meets Pretty Little Liars. They're at this very like wealthy, prestigious university. There's a lot of secrets, and there's 3 gals that are living together at Clarence Manor. It's basically sounds like a bunch of like mind games and secret keeping and all that kind of stuff. But those are the 2. So let me know. Do you want me to try and read Binding 13? Do you want me to read Ivy by Devney Perry. Which one gets your vote? Which would you like to hear my thoughts and opinions on? So those are all the books that I have for you for my December TBR. I would love to hear from you what you're planning on reading in December. Are you a big Christmas person? Do you have a bunch of Christmas books and novellas lined up? Do you like to just stick to your normal reading? What kind of mood are you in? Are you trying to target things maybe that are a little bit more wintry or seasonal if you're not much of a Christmas person? I'd love to hear anything and everything about what you're planning to read in December and any books that you've been loving lately. And with all of that, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like the video if you did at any point end up liking it. And don't forget to subscribe, especially if this is your first video here or you've watched a couple and haven't yet. I would love to have you stick around. And I really, really, really do hope I see you on my next video. Bye-bye.